Welcome to another segment of my videos as we continue with our mathematics, as we look at linear programming. In my previous topic under linear programming, I introduced you to linear programming and some of the terminologies that are actually used when it comes to linear programming. So I want to look at the 2024 paper 2 question 7 ECZ exam and see how you can actually go about this one. So it says Mapulanga's carpentry shop makes two types of chairs, type A and type B, for sale. The cost of making one chair of each type is 2,000. The shop has so the cost of making one chair of each type is 2,000 kwacha. The shop has 140,000 kwacha available for making chairs. The number of chairs of type A must be at least 20, while that of type B must be at least 10. Then it says if X is the number of chairs of type A and Y the number of chairs of type B, write 3 inequalities. So I want you to write 3 inequalities which represent these inequalities. So they want you to write 3 inequalities which actually represent the constraints that you have been given. Then B says, using a scale of 2 centimeters to represent 10 chairs on each axis, draw X and Y axis for 0 to 70 for the X and 0 to 70 again for Y respectively, and shade the unwanted region to show clearly the region where the solution of the inequality lies. So that's what they want you to do. So remember, the key idea here is simply for you to to come up with the inequalities, and you should be able to represent those inequalities on a graph paper. So if you watch the previous video, then you should be able to see the concept that we are going to have there. So it's coming from the 2024, so I'll quickly clear up this so that I can show you how to come up with those inequalities. There is also C and D, as you are going to see them in just a few minutes. So now the key concept there is that they have told us that X is the number of chairs of type A and Y is representing the number of chairs of type B. So we want to come up with the inequalities. Let me just clear up that so that we create a room for coming up with these inequalities. Okay, so from the conditions, so they have given you the conditions from the statement, so you need to read the conditions from the statement. Now it says, remember that Maplanga, Maplanga carpentry shop makes 2 types of chairs. So they have what we are calling as being type A. So they do have what we are calling as being type A. And remember, type A is representing X. Then they also make type B, and type B is representing Y. Now the cost of making one chair, one chair of each type is simply 2,000 kwacha. And the total money that they have is 140,000 kwacha available for making the chair. So you don't expect, for example, let me give you this example. If you have 100 kwacha and you want to go and buy tomatoes and onions and green pepper at the market, the total money that you're going to spend on onions, tomatoes, and green peppers cannot exceed the total money that you have, which is 100 kwacha. So meaning, whatever you buy, the tomatoes, the onions, the green peppers, should be less or equal to the amount that you have, which is 100 kwacha. So it can be equal to, but it should be less. It cannot exceed that. So in a similar way, you should have also the same thinking, because making each of type A cost a 2,000 kwacha. So I'm going to say, a 2,000, my first inequality, a 2,000 multiplied by the number of type A chairs that were made, plus again, a 2,000, the cost of making type B times the number of type B that were made. So the cost of making both of them, type A and type B, should be less or equal to the total money, which is 140,000. Of course, when you multiply that, you can ignore the K because you can cancel out the K, so therefore let's just ignore them. 2,000 times X will give me a 2,000 X plus 2,000 times Y will give me a 2,000 Y which should be less or equal to 140,000. Then the whole idea is that you need to make sure that you reduce this expression or inequality to its simplest form if possible. Remember, I do have the 3 zeros. I can cancel them. I can cancel the 3 zeros, and I know the 2 can go there. 2 there is 1, 2 there is 1, 2 into 14 is a 7, so that will give me a 70. So I'll remain with x plus y there should be less or equal to 70. So each time ensure that you look for a number that can go and express it to its lowest. So this is the first inequality that we have. So the number of type A chairs plus the number of type B chairs that were made should be less or equal to the total money that they wanted you to spend on the chairs. And this is the first inequality that we have coming from the cost of each chair, which is a 2,000, and the available money was 140,000. Now let's move on. It says the number of chairs of type A must be at least. Remember, they used must be at least. When they use the word at least, must be 20, and type A is represented by x. So meaning the other inequality, I can say x representing the number of type A should be at least, we use greater than or equal to 20. So this is the second inequality that you're going to have. Then the statement continues and say, wow, that of type B must be at least 10. Remember again the use of the word at least. B is represented by y, so it will be y should be greater or equal to 10. So these are the three inequalities that they wanted you to come up with. So this is the first one, the second one, and the third one. So we are now going to use, so this is the A part, we have answered the A part. So now you are going to use these inequalities in order for you to plot on a graph paper. So that is what we are going to do. Remember, for the B part, they told us that we use 2 centimeters to represent 10 chairs. So 2 units to represent 10 chairs, meaning after 2 centimeters we'll be counting 10, 20, 30, 40, and for each axis, if you remember, it was from 0 is less or equal to x and less or equal to 70, and 0 is less or equal to y, and y is less or equal to, in this case, 70. So let's quickly put that on a graph paper. So with me, I'll use now a graph paper. Allow me to remove that and put up a graph paper. So we are going to do it on a graph paper together so that we see how that can come up with. I hope you are following me and it will be easy for you to do. So I'll use a pen there. I'll use a pen to actually, do that. So what I'm going to do there is very simple. So I'm going to create, if I start from there, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 to fit, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It will fit also. So please, before you start putting up a scale, it's always good, to check your scale if it will fit. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Remember, this is on the x-axis. And on the x-axis, the type, we have actually type A. So you're going to write type A. Basically, on the y, again, it will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. What do we have this side? We actually have type B. So please ensure that you trace the x as well as the y axis. So ensure that you actually trace the x and the y axis. So that is what we do. So now, of course, you need to understand your scale. So make sure you understand the scale. If 10 is passing there, then each box, one box, you get the 10, you divide by how many small boxes are in 2 centimeters, which is a 10. So each small box is representing 1. So that is what you need to remember, just to help you understand, the scale. So that's what we have. So if I can just put up the inequalities again that I had there. So my first inequality that I had was x plus y should be less or equal to 70. Then the other one was x should be greater than or equal to 20. Then y should be greater than or equal to 10. These are the three inequalities that we had. So that is what you need to remember them. Now, we need to plot these inequalities on the graph paper. So how do we plot up the inequalities on the graph paper? Well, it's very simple. What you do when you're plotting up these inequalities, I'll show you here, but I will show here. So let me start, I'll end, first of all, end with this one. Let me start with 2 and 3 because those are the easiest if you're plotting in an exam. So if I look at this one, first of all, x is greater than or equal to 20. You need to change from the inequality symbol to the equal sign. So x is equal to 20. So that's an equation. So you draw the line where x is equal to 20. So that is what you need to draw. So when x is equal to 20. So where is the x equal to 20? So this is the line, x is equal to 20. So I'll draw this line. X is equal to 20. So I'll draw this line. That would be a solid line. Remember, there's an equal to, so it will be a solid line. Now, once you draw that, you need to make sure that you label the line. There's no problem. You can label along it, or you can point at it and simply say, oh, this is x is equal to 20. So now we are using the equal sign and not the inequality sign. Now, which side am I going to shade? Is it this side or that side? Remember in the B part, it says we shade the unwanted region. So because it says x should be greater or equal to 20, the part which is greater than is going this side. So this part is greater than, no wonder you can see the numbers increasing, and this side is less than. So the part that we want is the greater part. So you shade the unwanted region. So this is the unwanted region. Please shade nicely. Yeah. You can shade nicely by using, if you want a row, you can do that. I'm using a pen, but please, you can use a pencil because when you make mistakes, it's easy to correct it as compared to a pen. But there are no rigid rules that are there. But of course, you can just use a pencil. That's what I encourage you to do. Okay, so we have labeled it. So we have labeled the equation and have shaded the unwanted region. I'll also go to the third inequality, which says y is greater than or equal to 10. So I'll change y is equal to 10. So I need to draw the equation y is equal to 10. So y is equal to 10. It's passing here. So you go where y is equal to 10. It's this point. So you draw a line parallel to the x-axis. So just draw it as long as it can, but within the range of your scale. That's what you do. And I'll label it in this case. So I'll label it and simply say it is y is equal to 10. So now the next question is, which part do I need to shade? Well, the part that you need to shade, you go back to the inequality symbol. It says y should be greater than or equal to 10. So which part is greater than? Going up is greater than. No wonder you can see the numbers increasing. And down is actually less than. So we are shading the unwanted region. So I'll shade the part that is at the bottom there. So that's the part that I'm going to shade. And I've now shaded the unwanted region and I've labeled the equation making that. That is very important. Well, remember, we are looking at the 2024 paper 2 question number 7, from the ECZ exams. So that is the question we are referring to. Please, you can refer to that question. Now, the other question that we need, the other inequality we need to plot is the first one. I wanted it to be the last one so that I can demonstrate, I can actually get to show you how that is actually being done. So how is that going to be in this case? How is that going to be in this case? Well, if you look at, this inequality that we have there, basically, it is very simple when you look at it. So what I'm going to do is very simple there. So what we are going to do, I'm going to simply write that one, x plus y is less or equal to 70. Again, x plus y is equal to 70. So you need to put up now a table, and that table is going to consist of x and y. Remember to draw a straight line when we taught you about coordinate geometry. You need two coordinates. So you need two coordinates in order to draw you a straight line. Now the easiest is, you can say when x is 0, what y? So you replace in that equation. That's what you do. So let me just use my whiteboard so that I can demonstrate to you, quickly demonstrate to you. Now clean up again this section so that I actually demonstrate to you. So if you have the equation x plus y is less or equal to 70, you put up a table. You just need two values of x and their corresponding values of y. That's what you just need. For example, if I say x is equal to 0, you can use any values within the range of your scale. There's no problem. You have to replace in that equation. Remember we said x plus y is equal to 70. So when x is 0, 0 plus y is equal to 70. So y will be equal to 70. So you are going to put up and say your y is equal to 70. You can also try out and simply say, suppose y is a 0. What will my x give me? Please, like I said, why I'm using 0, because wherever I replace 0, it will cancel out. But you're at liberty to use any values. You need just two coordinates to draw a straight line. So when y is equal to 0, what will x? So again, I'll replace when my y is a 0. What will my x give me? So x is equal to 70. So that's what we mean. So there again, it will be 70. So if you look at these coordinates here, when x is 0, your y is 70. That's our first coordinate. And the other one, when our x is 70, our y is 0. So you are going to use these two coordinates to draw your straight line. So I'll go back to my graph paper so that you are able to see. So remember here we got 70, and when this was 70, this was giving us 0. So the two coordinates 0, 70 and 70, 0. So you use that to plot. So 0, 70, meaning x has not moved, it's on the y-axis, 70, it's this point there. And the other point 70, 0, x has moved to 70, y has not moved, still on the x-axis. That's the point. Then you can simply join these 2 points like that. So that is what you can do there, right? So again, it is going to be a solid, it is simply going to be a solid line. And you label it, please. So what is the equation making this one? It's x plus y is equal to 70. Now, which region do you need to shade? Well, if you remember from my previous videos, I gave you some quick tips that you can do. Going this side is actually less than, and going that side is greater than. Now, according to this inequality sign, it says x plus y is less or equal to 70. So less than, this is the part we need, which is less. So you shade the unwanted region, the region that you don't need. So that's the region that we are going to shade there. So this is the unwanted region that you can shade there. So you have actually drawn this, and that's the 4 marks that they wanted. So this was the B part that you have. Now in the next question, that is the C part, I want you to see what the question continues. Like I told you, the C part there now says, given that the profit on each type H here is 60 kwacha. So now they are telling us, for the C part, they are telling us to say, well, the profit that they are getting, if it comes to type A, it is simply a 60 kwacha. And the profit on type B that they are getting is simply a 30 kwacha. So then it says how many chairs of each type should be made for maximum profit. So in order to maximize his profit, how many of each type should he make? Well, let me give you again a tip. The easiest that you can do, of course, there are so many methods. You can try out all the points. But remember, because all these lines are solid lines, you can pick up even along the boundary. There's no problem. So what you can do is that you can actually try out all the boundaries. For example, try out this boundary, this point here, and that point there. This point here is simply 20, 10. So I'll try out, 20 for my C part. I'll try it 20, 10. I'll also try out, this is 60, 10. I can try out that. I can also try out this point here, which is 20, 50. So 20, 50, and see which one will give me maximum profit. Of course, you can pick up any other coordinate, 50 and 70. You can actually pick them up there it's okay. 50 and 20, you can pick them up. 40 and 30, you can pick them up. But please try first of all what is on the boundary there and which one will give you the maximum profit. Let me show you what exactly I mean. So the points that I have there, let me just write them there. 20,10. I do have 60,10, and I do have 20,50. So these are the points that I'm having there in this case. So I need to try out all these points. Between these points, which one will give me the maximum profit? Now, please, I want to show you, because the D part says calculate the maximum profit. How do you calculate, in this case, the maximum profit? Well, for you to get the maximum profit, what we do is that since type A is representing X and type B is representing Y, so it's the profit times the number of type A that you had. So I'll just say, in this case, it will be 60 multiplied by just X plus the profit for type B times how many type B you bought. So you multiply 30 times Y, which will give you 30Y. So this is the formula that you can use to find the profit. So now what I'm going to do, remember, this from this coordinate, this is representing X and that is representing Y. So I can quickly be putting in this formula 60 times my X, which is 20, plus 30 times my Y, and so that you know how much profit you are going to get for that one. So quickly, I'll do that using my calculator. You can also do it nicely. So 60 times 20, then plus again 30 multiplied by 10. So this is what I'm getting on my calculator. I'm getting a 1,500. So for this one, the profit, when you use this coordinate, will simply be a 1,500. Let's go for this one and we try it out. So using that, so it will be 60 multiplied by X is our 60. We close the brackets plus 30. Again, open the bracket. My X there is a 10. Close the bracket. So that profit here will give me a 3,900. We also go for this one there. We do the same. So it will be 60. Open bracket. My X is 20 plus 30 multiplied by my X is 50. So that is going to be a 50 there. So that is going to give me, in this case, a 2,000. In this case, 700. So you can see from this coordinate, which one has given you the maximum profit? Well, I can see in this case a 3,900. So remember, the question was saying how many chairs of each type. So meaning, if this is giving me the maximum profit, it simply means that therefore, I can simply say that for type A, he needs 60 chairs, and for type B, then he needs how many? He needs just 10 chairs. So when he does that, when he makes 60 chairs and 10 chairs for type B, that is going to give him his maximum profit. And that's why now the D part says calculate the maximum profit. So the maximum profit, you use those coordinates 60, 10, meaning that when X is 60 and your Y is a 10 there. So that is going to be 60 multiplied by 60 plus 30 multiplied by Y, which is a 10. So this times that will give me 3,600 plus, that is going to give me a 300. And all in total, that will give you a 3,900 kwacha. So that is basically the maximum profit. So that is the maximum profit that he was going to get there. So like I said, linear programming can actually be used in determining either the maximum or the minimum profits that you can get from selling certain items. So linear programming is very good, very simple topic. Please just pay attention to the words that are used, come up with inequalities. If you still have a problem, please, you can also go back on the video that I previously did for paper 1, and it will help you a whole lot. Practice is very important, so practice through your work and you'll be easily be able to do that. So you can see what we have actually done there. So all this information needs to be put on your graph paper when you're doing it in the exam, and please be neat. There will always be space in the graph paper they give you in the exam. The graph paper is double lined, meaning both sides is actually lined. So you can actually get to do it. Thank you so much for watching my videos. See you maybe when I make more practice videos under linear programming so that we can simply assist you. Thank you for watching.